Okay, yeah, I forgot the acrostic Easter egg. Okay, I know. That's my bad. I fully forgot. So I will retitle the original 8 episodes I split, and the new ones will have an acrostic. Probably, if I don't put one there, it's just going to farm engagement on the video from people commenting that I forgot an acrostic. So stay to the end to see if I put one there. Episode 1 becomes A New Realm. Episode 2 becomes For One Another. Episode 3 is going to stay the same because it's a reference to the Season 2 mid-season finale, and I like it too much to get rid of it, so it's still today's truth. Episode 4 becomes Esoteric Puzzles. I needed to use the letter E. Also talking about both the Rebus and school, so I'm clever. Episode 5 becomes Re and Kindling. This one's a stretch, but I wrote it down and I committed to it. Episode 6 becomes Going Spaceward, which is 2 references in 1. Episode 7 becomes On the Night of a Haunt. I would have preferred Upon the Night of a Haunt, but that's not how acrostics work. And episode 8 becomes Into the Door. It's spoilery, but I don't really care because I think it sounds really cool. Alternatively, you could call it In My World, which, as I say out loud now, I'm starting to actually prefer more, because V stays behind and because Bello sees the demon realm as his to conquer. It's up to you which one you prefer, but they both start with the letter I. So whatever those spell out. I don't know, I just spent way too long trying to figure out an acrostic around the letter T being in the 3rd slot that also made sense and wasn't incredibly pretentious. So if you have better titles and acrostics, let me know, because I made this way too difficult on myself. Probably because I didn't want to change episode 3, and I don't know what the 3rd special holds in it. Also, just for an intro, if you haven't seen these videos before, go watch the first one. It's not like this is going to be confusing if you haven't seen the first one, but you should probably watch the first one. And I'm still going to be here, just patiently waiting for you to get through it. It's not a long video, it's like a 4-page script, so just go ahead and watch that now. Alright, so as I mentioned in the previous video, this obviously is not exactly what Season 3 would hold, and plans changed when Season 3 got shortened, and so the second half of Season 2 probably doesn't even look like it originally did. But this is what I think Season 3 could look like if it was 23. I added more episodes because I could not decide on an acrostic. 23 episodes that followed the same story as it does now because we got specials. It's just a fun video for me to talk about the Owl House and also work on kind of like a writing exercise. Alright, I divided up the second special for the future into 7 episodes. This, of course, means to hit the 23 that I've accosted myself into, that 3rd special will need to be 8 episodes, which I was kind of struggling for 7 here. I guess you could add a filler episode somewhere. I'll mention it where you can. I just didn't, and it probably will haunt me if I make a part 3 of this, but anyway, here we go. Episode 9, Not the Isles You Once Knew. I'm not married to the title, but regardless, after seeing Luce, Amity, and the rest of the gang walk through the portal at the end of the last episode, we're going to go completely outside of time and go back to what happened on the Day of Unity and slightly beyond that. It's implied that the first special, and thus the first 8 episodes in this case, took place over the course of a few months, and this episode would take place during those months. We'd open with the same thing that the special currently opens with, but instead of then having a period of time where we don't know what happens, we would go over in more detail how King hid Ida and got the Collector to unpuppify Lilith, etc. Luce and the gang, as I'll probably refer to them for the rest of the video, will not show up, and this is kind of just what happened to the members of the main cast in those couple of months. Could probably make this into 2 episodes. This is where the filler would go, but I kind of chose to just do 1 because I think it'd be very interesting to see after Luce and the gang walk through the portal, we cut back in time. Episode 10, Going Home. Going Home would open with the in-between realm sequence that we see at the beginning of For the Future, before following Luce and the gang as they get back to the Boiling Isles. They'd return to the Owl House and see what was going on all around, including the sequence with King and the Collector, and them playing Owl House. The main subplot for this episode would be Luce's insecurity about her palisman. We'd see this through Luce's conversation with Amity, just like in the special. I think also that it would be good to have a conversation with Willow, where you could then see the stress that Willow is under before her conversation with Camilla, where we learned kind of like the same thing as we did in the special with the plans as she walks away and everything. This would prime Chekhov's palisman and Chekhov's Willow for the moment of truth. Another important note is the lack of Bellos in this episode. I think having Hunter pacing in the background and having 1 to 2 comments about how they need to find Bellos will help. I think having an episode focused on Luce and the gang back in the Boiling Isles and setting up Luce and Willow's characters for this arc is really important. Episode 11, Haunted. I really think that we need a Hunter Bellos episode. The first 3 episodes of this arc are all to set up the stress that our characters are under. In the same way that I kind of set up the first 8 episode arc to be about the secrets they keep from each other, this arc is about them learning to then rely on others, which I'm guessing will play into the finale. We're going to see this with Willow, with Ida relying on Lilith for the potion, and with Luce and Camilla's conversation late in the arc. Without knowing the contents of the 3rd special, I'm guessing this is something that's going to come up, and just based on what I know about writing, I feel like it's going to happen, but it's just a guess. This episode will cover the parallels between Hunter and Bellos and how they're both haunted by their past. Bellows would see Hunter's ghost/spirit everywhere, while Hunter and Gus attempt to track down Bellows and learn more about what the Collector has done. I think if done right, this can definitely be implied to be happening at the same time as the previous episode, and it can really be what these characters are up to while Willow and Luce's arcs are being primed. In this episode, two main things should be highlighted: the fear that Bellows and Hunter both have, and Hunter's refusal to rely on Gus or anyone else. Even though in the last special Luce told him that he's one of them, losing Flapjack has convinced Hunter that he's not one of them, and that more people are going to get hurt because of him. Also, we need to remind the audience that Gus knows that Hunter's a Grimwalker in some way. I think that he should almost say something about it at one point and then not, thus giving more punch to when he actually does later on. He also might want to make a couple comments about missing Flapjack, but it should be obvious to the audience that that kind of just makes Hunter feel worse. By the end of the episode, Bellows has planted himself in the other Grimwalker body, and Bartholomew finds Hunter and Gus, who retrieve everyone from the Owl House and take them to New HEXSIDE. Alternatively, you could have them yell out, and then everyone else shows up, and then they get taken to New HEXSIDE. Episode 12, On That Day. On that day would follow Luce and the gang as they arrive back to HEXSIDE, and while the main plot would follow almost exactly as it did in the special, with the main group learning what happened at HEXSIDE and then reuniting with some of the supporting cast, pun intended, each character they meet would also tell their story of what happened on the Day of Unity, giving us flashbacks into more of what happened and fleshing out that day more for the audience. Also, we're not cutting the best line in the special.
There were rocks at the bottom.
This episode doesn't have a lot of specific beats for me to hit, as you can kind of just take what's here and expand on it. We reunite with characters, we learn of Bosch's rule over the school, and we end the main plot by teasing the memory tweezer things that would be creepy and haunting in live action, but work really well in animation. But before the end, we'd cut to King and the Collector getting ready for bed, King reading the book, and then sneaking off to get Hootie to Ida and Lilith. And then we cut to credits. This will give us a tease of what's happening in the background between the Collector and King, and it shows that things are progressing. Episode 13, Memories of a Brighter Day. Memories of a Brighter Day is going to be the lightest episode from here on out, but that isn't really saying much because, you know what happens next. This is also the second episode that I've really divided into a distinct A and B plot, whereas the A plot is the memory getting, which will be changed into Amity and Luce instead of Willow and Luce, for reasons you'll see in a second. It will be more lighthearted and kind of a retrospective of sorts, and the B plot will be Hunter's breakdown, which was set up in episode 11, which is the first of 3 child breakdown payoffs. The A plot will follow Amity, Luce, and Camilla going through Luce's memories from the Boiling Isles as they try to find the sigil that Philip used to teleport himself. Here, we can see Luce's sadness over a lot of the memories, while still trying to hide from Amity that she plans to go back to Earth and not stay on the Boiling Isles. There can also be some fun moments here of Luce telling her mom stories that we either saw or didn't see of the gang having fun together. Meanwhile, in the sadder subplot, Gus considers talking to Hunter about him being a Grimwalker, and then the same thing happens in the special when Willow shows him the picture and he fully breaks down. Willow then flees, fearing she's made things worse, and is captured by Kikimora. Then, after a moment of triumph from Luce, Amity, and Camilla finding the sigil, she reveals herself, and then she's going to hit them all with the sleeping gas. We're then going to cut to the Collector's castle, where we see Bellows possess the rain puppet, and his, "oh, this will do nicely" kind of villain line. Episode 14, Escape from HEXSIDE. Okay, so episode 11 or 12 would technically be the mid-season finale in, but I'm going to campaign here to make it after episode 15 and then before the last 8 episode arc of the show. This, of course, is because I think it's funny for people to get mad when a show's left on a cliffhanger for extended periods of time. Or I did think it was funny before Inside Job got canceled, and now I'm just sad. Regardless, I think putting a mid-season finale after next episode makes sense, especially considering how it ends, which if you've seen the special, spoilers, you know how it ends, but we'll get there. Escape from HEXSIDE will have 2 main plots going on. There's going to be the same number of breakdowns as there will be plot. This will also be the least change of anything because I just think these sequences are really good. The A plot here will be Willow's breakdown and Hunter's resolution. This is because I think Willow deserves an A plot, and I think that the resolution for 2 characters' arcs, being Hunter and Willow, deserves an A plot over just Luce's. Also, Gus is here, but he really doesn't have much to do during the resolution of these 2 characters, and he's mainly there for support, which I hope he gets so much more to do in the 3rd special. The B plot will follow Luce and her mom fleeing Kikimora and their conversation about making mistakes. This episode is our big payoff to these characters' arcs. They learn that they can't do things alone, and Luce learns that she's allowed to make mistakes. This episode ends on Luce's staff appearing from the egg, Hunter teleporting Willow and Gus out, and no stinger about Bellows or the Collector, just one last moment of triumph. Episode 15, Your Last Betrayal. The final episode of this arc opens with Amity, Bartholomew, and Bosch's fight, and Bosch begging for Amity to come back. But here we can have Amity saying something along the lines of, "I know how you can help," or something way better written than that. Willow, Gus, and Hunter all find Luce and Camilla, who's firing lasers from her staff, and after some fighting, the same sequence with HEXSIDE helping happens again like it did in the special. Meanwhile, the B-plot for this episode finds Bellows in Rain's body talking to the Collector about how Luce is back and about King's betrayal. Then, Luce and the gang successfully teleport to the skull where the Collector sees them. We get the main character Palisman reveal, shout out to Stringbean, and the Collector's last line, "I want to play a new game," before a cut to credits. Ideally, this is our mid-season finale. I know it's not exactly mid-season, but like the cliffhanger here is, I think, a lot better than anything that you could put in episode 11 or 12. Even Kikimura's reveal wouldn't hit as hard as, you know, this.
I think I want to play a new game.
So that's my pitch for the split up version for the future. I know it isn't perfect, but I do really like what I have here, and I hope you do too. But if you don't, tell me your version in the comments, and maybe I'll heart some of my favorites or repost them in the community tab or whatever. I don't know. Regardless, I'll probably do this for the third special because it was really fun, so consider subscribing so you don't miss that. But until then, who knows what the next video will be about. Not me. I mean, I might, but bye!